My greetings. Well met. Greetings, traveler. Greetings, friend.
The pleasure is mine.
Hello and welcome to episode 270 of Concede, Hearthstone podcast, dedicated to making the competitive side of the game more accessible to you. It is Thursday, December 10th, in the evening. From Gadsden, New York, it's me, Ridiculous Hat. From Karazhan, California, we got Botticus.
Hello.
From Undercity, Pennsylvania, we have Edelweiss.
Hello.
And from where you are, listener, we have you. If you'd like to find out how you can support us, receive rewards in return, head to patreon.com/CoinConcede. You can also support us by leaving an iTunes review, totally free, and really helps other people find the show. All right. So I guess today, everyone announced everything. Today is the day where Disney announced 40 new Star Wars projects and a bunch of Marvel stuff. And the Game Awards are going literally right now. And I don't know, things are happening. But in Hearthstone, we're just waiting for Worlds to happen, which starts in 2 days. And also, stuff happened this week. So I don't know. Botticus, buddy, how you been doing?
I'm doing all right. Been played a ton of Path of Exile, and probably played it to the point where I burned myself out a bit. So also got in a few little bits of Hearthstone here and there. I realized that my MMR, or my hidden MMR, hasn't fallen that much in Battlegrounds because I queued into a lobby with purple over the weekend. I think it was the weekend. So I don't know how slowly your MMR goes down, but still in lobbies with. It might have just been the time I was playing because I was playing at an odd hour, but still queuing him with some pretty high ranked people, which is why I'm still having a lot of trouble winning. Which I guess that'll happen. But also picked up some E.T.C Warrior. I don't remember if I talked about it last week, but I was playing a bit of that. And also tried a little bit of Big Priest just to see what it felt like.
In Wild?
No.
Oh, standard,
In
okay.
standard. Yeah. I was just looking at HS Replay. I was looking for decks, and I knew about the change from last week to the 2-5.
Oh, Nazmani,
and
yes.
To Asmani, and I was looking for Priest decks, and Big Priest were the only decks that had winning records. So that doesn't play that card in that deck, but I tried playing it, and very average to not great results as expected. So E.T.C Warrior's been going pretty good, but I mean, like I talk about every week, it's hard to get excited to play standard ladder when about half or more of my games are against Demon Hunters. Even when I'm playing decks that have really good matchups. I think I played against Frozen.
Oh, was he
I played
playing
against
the
Frozen
OTK?
combo? Yeah,
Yeah.
he was playing combo, and I spent the entire game looking for a Armor Smith, which would have locked up the game, and the game wouldn't have been close because I could copy it multiple times and get to an insane armor total that he would have never been able to deal with, but I never found one. So
I will say, after playing a bit of that combo Demon Hunter, though, the ceiling on damage potential is much higher than I thought. It can hit some pretty high numbers that I didn't think possible. It obviously is dependent on good luck with your skull draws, but it can really get up there.
yeah, I mean, he got to 48 damage on me, but if I would have had an Armor Smith, I would have been at more than 60. So
Sure.
They can hit.
I was
96.
well
I think.
out of range. Yeah, if I would have drawn both Armor Smiths, I would have been well out of range because I had double Skipper, double Bloodsworn, and I was literally just waiting for an Armor Smith to get through the burst. But
that deck draws fast. The Demon Hunter deck, they have so much turn.
Yeah, I mean, both decks draw pretty fast, but
That's true.
I had 10 cards left, and he had 3, and was able to combo me for 48 damage, and I had 2 minions in play. So it's
Yep.
possible he could have done even like way more, because I only had 2 minions in play, and he might have been able to.
They target their own with the second
Uh,
one.
Yeah, he could have gotten the second one, but I don't know. It was kind of just a frustrating game.
Yeah.
But those happen. That'll happen. I'm not like super torn up about it. Just yeah, trying to grind through it, and also resubbed to World of Warcraft. So
Oh
we'll see what happens there.
Oh no. I've heard Shadowlands is great, but there's no way you have time
That's
for all 3
why.
games.
Oh no, I don't know how much I would really want to play Path of Exile till the new league comes out. Because basically this week I'll probably play a little bit of the. They have a special league that they've never done before, but it doesn't sound like there's a ton of content with it,
Hmm.
and it's something I don't usually do in the normal game, so I don't know why I would do an endless amount of it in this short league. So might play a little bit of that, and then there's 3 more weeks of just kind of nothing. But as with every time you restart World of Warcraft, I just want to do some Mythic Plus and hang out with friends. But last time I said that, I ended up raiding a bunch and doing more involved stuff. So we'll see if I'm able to avoid that temptation. I don't know. I played a little bit last night and went to bed early, so hasn't really got its full claws in me yet, I guess.
It's every WoW friend I have says that Shadowlands is a high quality expansion. The vibe that I've gotten is the storytelling's really great, and the Covenant system feels fully baked and good and all that stuff. I'm I'm glad to hear that they got it right because BFA had a lot of misses, had a lot of missed opportunities. Uh,
And I really enjoyed BFA actually.
Interesting.
I mean, but that was like I came back to the game
Mm.
for BFA,
Yeah, makes sense.
and then I had never done Mythic Plus before, and so the first taste of Mythic Plus was just like kind of something I hadn't really experienced before and really enjoyed it. So
It's an
I was
incredible game
told
mode.
that
Yeah.
the class I want to play has a broken spec. So until it gets nerfed, I'll go back and play, and then we'll see from there. I don't know. I don't really want to sink a lot of time into it, but I also don't have anything else I'm super excited to be playing right now, so we'll see.
See, I really enjoy watching the YouTube videos covering the lore in the World of Warcraft expansions, and I do not play.
This seems like a good expansion for lore. But I'm glad that I won't lose both of my co-hosts to this game. So Edelweiss, what have you been up to?
I was playing some combo Demon Hunter to see how that was. It's very tricky, particular Frozen's list, because he is a little lighter on combo pieces and more flexible. So sometimes you gotta do stuff with Zephyrus, try and get a Doom Hammer, etc. It's yeah, it's one of those decks where you really have to balance. Okay, how much can I of the combo can I use earlier on just to stay alive and still have enough damage to win in the end?
Yeah, that deck is
But
hard.
like
That deck is
it's
it's
so
really
hard.
difficult.
So I at a certain point I was like, okay, I gotta stop doing this, play something else, and I switched over to E.T.C Warrior.
To give
And
yourself a break, just this complicated combo control deck. Sure.
yeah, and the hyper draw one, really hand size management is pretty tricky. So I think I'll actually prefer something that has a bit less card draw and a few more control tools. Because it can feel rough sometimes, like Bot mentioned, just not drawing your skipper against like an aggressive demon hunter, and you've got all these draw cards, but hand space. It can be a bit of a dance, but
Yeah,
so play.
I knew that combo DH was got to be super complex when Frozen coined out Spectral Sight on turn 1. I don't know that I've ever seen that before, but he went coin Spectral Sight on turn 1, and I was like, oh, he knows this matchup, because I wasn't ready for that.
Well, and Also, if it's on the far right, it's sort of like, well, draw your 2, or it's just going to be the 1. That was my hang up with the Demon Hunter, was the mini game for that deck is how do I unlock this skull and still have my combo pieces? Because skull is so powerful for increasing your damage output and obviously just drawing cards. But at the same time, if you have to get combo pieces out of the way to play the skull, you might be giving up too much damage. So it's one of the few decks where I feel like you might much more consider playing a skull as just nourish draw 3.
Yeah, a lot of times with that deck I found, or when I was playing the old version, which is probably not as refined, is that my skulls could not make it to the outside of my hand without sacrificing combo pieces. So a lot of times it was the nourish draw 3.
What I learned when playing that deck is that I'd rather play aggro Demon Hunter, because it's the combo of 30 damage. You spread it out over the first 5 turns of the game, and the combo is like Dreadlord's Bite and opponent's face, and that's a much easier combo to execute. Same general idea. You just do just different, just green cards, they die. Different execution. And I'm not going to invest a ton of time into Demon Hunter, especially complicated Demon Hunter, not knowing what's going to come next week. Assuming nerfs are next week, which we don't know 100%, but we'll get to that.
Pretty sure.
I would expect green cards to change. That is my brave assumption.
We need nerfs to not come next week so we don't have to buy Edelweiss packs again.
Well, I got some bad news, buddy. If they don't come by the end of this show, we're pretty much out of time.
Oh no! If it happens, if it doesn't
It
happen
happens the
next
week after.
and it happens the week after that, then we're all in the clear because none of us were right.
I suppose that's true. And Mad at Arms is pointing out.
I'd rather Edelweiss be right, honestly. Yes. I'd rather Edelweiss be right and we get nerfs faster, please.
I'll explain my reasoning. I am near certain that something will happen Tuesday. Near certain. Almost 100%. Not like I don't have inside information, but it's about as close as it gets just by the dates they've given and the behavior they've. And we'll get to it. And Mad at Arms makes a good point in the chat. The new deck, the hotness that's going around Twitter today, the new meme, is token combo Demon Hunter, where
I've got to check it out.
It hit top 100 in Asia, and I had to look at the list. It was a Japanese deck list. I had to go stare at art very closely to figure out, because there are some cards in there I haven't seen. There's the 3-mana 2/5 taunt, the Demon Hunter taunt. I don't even know the name of the card that when you corrupt it gets +1/+1 on lifesteal.
Yep.
There's the Renowned Performer, the 4-mana 3/3 rush. When it dies, you get 2/1/1 taunts.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah. So basically the way it works is you use Costume Performer, the neutral 2-drop that gives a minion in your hand +2/+2 to buff a Wrathscale Naga. And you discount one of 3 things: Wrathscale Naga, Expendable Performers, or Immolation Aura. And you go Naga, Performers, Aura, and that's 12 3-damage ticks. Because after the first 6 die, it respawns the next 6 in the middle of the thing. So it's super cool. I'm told the deck might actually be a deck because it looks like a thing that's suspiciously not a deck, but it's top 100, and then people are playing it, and of course they're streaming it because it's fun and different and novel. But also it looks like it might be a thing. I don't know.
I tried to make that early in the expansion, but had survivability issues. I think because aggro Demon Hunter was so prevalent at that point, and I just couldn't figure out the survivability issues. I didn't really consider something like the lifesteal corruption thing.
Yeah, so. And also Renowned Performer has taunt, and also it plays Bone Wraiths. Like it's
okay. Sure.
It has a ton of 3 and 4 taunts. It plays Felsteel Executioner, the 3-mana 4/3 that turns into a weapon. Plays that too.
Yep.
Just to like chip the opponent down, I guess. I don't know. It's weird, but that's going around today. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I'll put that list in the show notes. I have this somewhere here. I have not been playing that, by the way, either. Let me paste this list real quick. Here you go, right there. I'm gonna put this in the show notes. So when did I get Legend? I got Legend, I think, last Friday. I wasn't recording, because I was playing on my iPad. Yes, last Friday or Saturday, I forget. I've been playing some weird stuff. Surprising, I know. Been playing some weird stuff. Late last week, I found this list that Language Hacker was talking about, and it's Highlander Druid. And listeners, I want you to be aware. The day I picked it up was the first day of this deck. This deck is Majora's Mask. After 3 days, it was over. It was exactly 3 days of deck. So, Language Hacker hit top 100 with it. I looked at the deck and this is a joke. And I played it and I went 8-2. Including multiple Yogg victories. Including gross DQA stuff. I got a turn 5 DQA with 2 mana up. Because Imprison Satyr and Innervate. By the way, don't play Imprison Satyr, it's a bad card. And you'll notice, I'm saying all these super busted things I'm doing with cards that I later cut from the deck, because the deck is not consistent. It's Highlander Druid. So, if you draw Zeph or Overgrowth, it's awesome. If you Imprison Satyr on turn 1 and hit DQA, yeah, it's great. That's not going to happen all the time. When you win with Yogg, it's great. It's not going to happen all the time. But I went 8-2 with it and hit Legend. And I've tried, a little bit of everything in the process. I tried a bunch of Shaman. I tried a bunch of greedy Control Warlock decks. By the way, Control Warlock sucks. Don't play it. Rogue. Rogue's good. Tried some Priest after the Nazmania bug fix. Priest is apparently good if you're Gabby. I'm not Gabby, so I wasn't able to make it work. But Rogue, according to Vicious Syndicate, and I promise this is not a parallel dimension, listener. If you're listening, you're in the right place. The best Miracle Rogue list, which is the best deck in the format as of this moment, plays Whirly Kick Master. Whirly Kick Master, for people that don't know.
I'm excited.
It's
so
very
cool.
fun. Whirly Kick Master, for people that don't know, it's a Saviors of Uldoon card, 2 mana, 1/2 epic. Whenever you play a combo card, add a random combo card to your hand. If you don't have this in your collection, do not craft it right now. Wait until Tuesday, when you get your Nerf Dust back. If you get Nerf Dust back, do not craft it before then. Strongly consider not crafting it anyways. It rotates out in a few months. But, as of right now, this is in the best list. And have either of you played with this yet?
I don't know about the
but I
most
saw-
recent list, but yeah.
I saw a list with it.
So, do either of you know the secret about this card? This card is not Whirly Kick Master. This card is Mana Cyclone. That's what this card is.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It is 100% just the same thing as Mana Cyclone. I initially made the Sethic Veilweaver comparison, but you just run out Sethic sometimes, and you get it back, and it scales the game for you. This is just a bunch of value garbage that you play with a bunch of other stuff in the same turn. That's all it is.
Yeah, because it never survives.
Never. Never, ever. And if it does survive, you're going to win that game anyways. But the real thing that makes this deck tick, which Edelweiss, I think you call this card, is Prize Plunderer. That card is bananas. That's the 1 mana 2/1 combo. Deal damage to a minion equal to the number of other cards you've played this turn. So it's a 1 mana activator for Whirly Kick Master, and it's a 1 mana SI7. And this deck has a lot of trouble losing to Aggro Demon Hunter. You play 2 SIs and 2 Plunderers and just a bunch of crap, and they just can't keep up with your wide board, and you kill everything. Yo, AK4 Life, thank you so much for the sub. I appreciate that. So been playing a lot of that. Deck is good, actively quite good, and I'm enjoying it. So just gonna roll with Rogue for a little while. But yeah, I've tried some E.T.C Warrior, tried some various combo priests, Highlander Druid. McBannerface got 1 with it and was just like, this deck is bad, while he was queuing on rank 1 with it. And Blastoise, the creator of the deck, was in the chat. And I was like, Blastoise, this deck has only been a deck for 24 hours and will only be a deck for another 24 hours. And that was about right. And Vicious Syndicate calls it questionable Highlander Druid. It is apparently worse than Control Warlock. Don't build it. Don't play it. But if you have all the cards, you can try it. It's unreliable. But fun.
Yeah, the Rogue felt really good. And I
Rogue's
think,
quite
like
good.
you said, it's the presence of strong 1 mana combo cards, right? So being able to just get more value out of that recurring combo turn. So Prize Plunderer, quite good, especially Shadow Stepping it. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
'Cause that adds another 2 instances of damage.
And Wand Thief is
And
nuts,
then-
too. There was a game where I went...
Wand Thief and Brain Freeze.
Well, Brain Freeze is out. You don't play Brain Freeze anymore. That's out.
No, but you can get it off of Whirly Kick Master, right?
Yes. There are 17 combo cards. There are some sketchy ones in there. Your hand might fill up with some Kidnappers. You don't want some Kidnappers. You don't really want Shadow Sculptors, but you want more Prize Plunderers and SI7s and Eviscerates and what. Like, there are enough that are good things. And Wand Thief is the nuts. Wand Thief's so good. I was so wrong about that card. There was a game where I went Secret Passage, World of Kickmaster, Wand Thief, Step, Wand Thief, and just like, all right, I guess 4 mana for 8 cards is fine. Like, just 8 cards. I can't even hold all these. What do I do with all these cards? I won that game.
I hope so.
Yeah.
The amount of value sounds very delightful to me, and I'm probably going to play this after the show.
And you still sometimes have turn 1 10/10 Edwigs, so.
Yes, it abuses Foxy Fraud like crazy. And really, like, the Secret Passage is not the Secret Package. Secret Passage is good right now. The Secret Package. We're gonna fix this. Blackjack, Stunner, and Hanar are not that great right now. Just because, like, the ambush token dies. Dirty Tricks, your hand is overflowing already. And Stunner is kind of bad against all the Demon Hunters and Warrior. Like, you definitely don't want to Stunner anything in Soul Demon Hunter, because the only time they're playing a minion is when it's beating you. There have been times where I'm like, do I Blackjack Stunner that Soul Shard Lapidary? Because you either take 5 or you take 5. Like, what are you going to do?
Right.
So, just it's cutting the secrets has felt pretty reasonable to me because they weren't all that useful. I miss, top decking Hanara late game against Soul Demon Hunter and making 10 secrets or whatever. Like, you make the full tree and have a backup in hand. But yeah, I don't miss it as much, and I like just having a bunch of SI7s. So, that's good. One of the better decks. But let's jump in. We've got some reward stuff to talk about. Some reward track updates. And some other news. So let's go to the news.
Gadgets and Gazette always gets the scoop.
All right. So, we're going to talk about reward track again. But this time on a slightly more positive note, hopefully. So they finally came back with some changes for their approach to the reward track. Quite a few, tons of changes actually. So just kind of going over the big ones. They are completely removing weekly quests that require legendary cards or arena runs. And they say specifically in this message that this was a mistake. They said specifically, frankly, these were a mistake and we shouldn't have included them in the first place. So it's good that they're accepting that feedback and taking a bit of onus on quests like this. They changed win 7 games of ranked play mode to win 5 games of ranked play mode for the weekly quest that is guaranteed. You will get this weekly quest every week, and they're making it easier to complete. Tavern brawls and battlegrounds are now going to help towards your quest progress outside of the weekly tavern brawl or battlegrounds progress. So this is good. People who only do battleground stuff are now going to have an easier time completing quests, which is good. Same for people who really like doing tavern brawl stuff and want to feel rewarded. They're making small tweaks to some of the quests, like the play 50 corrupted cards is getting reduced to 30 cards, and probably going to be a couple other tweaks out there, just making it easier to complete quests in general. And then all 800 XP daily quests are now going to reward 900 XP instead, so a little bit of a buff to some of the lower daily quest amounts. In addition to all of that, they said they have heard all of the feedback, and that higher levels of the reward track take way too much XP to feel rewarding and to reach. So they are reducing the requirements of the current rewards track by a total of 37,000 XP, nearly 20%. About 20% is just going to be easier for people to progress. And kind of lastly, for people who go beyond level 50, they're kind of almost completely revamping it. So instead of having very large amounts of XP required to get these big rewards um, after the track, they're extending the maximum beyond level 150 out to level 350, and then reducing the XP by a very significant amount so that you'll be leveling up more often after you than you would normally after level 50. But instead of giving large gold amounts, they're only going to be giving 50 gold. So essentially, you have a more steady stream of getting gold after you progress past level 50 instead of having to wait potentially multiple days, very long play sessions in between large level jumps in order to get gold. So it's going to be a more steady stream. I assume it's going to be relatively similar in terms of how much gold you're earning, but it's not going to feel like you're waiting like multiple days or sometimes a week in between getting levels and getting extra rewards past level 50. And then lastly, they put a note here saying that they're not done making changes. They're still listening to feedback. They still want feedback. And they have some ideas how they can further improve the level 1 to 50 experience for people. So they're not done yet, but this is the first step to, I guess you could kind of say, rectifying uh, some of the missteps, I'll call it, with the first edition of the rewards track. So that's all the big changes. What do we think? I literally have not been on social media like at all.
Good
after
play.
this, and
Good play.
and I had already muted the Hearthstone subreddit, so haven't been seeing any of that. I assume most people probably don't think this is enough, but I do think that this is at least a step in the right direction. What do we know? What has the reaction been so far to these changes?
So I read the comments.
Why did you do
day
that?
of, and
Why did you do that?
It's not me. I don't know. You're reading like toxicity not directed at me. I don't know, is whatever. But anyway, they were much more positive than I expected. Now, granted, still a lot of negative stuff in there, but you could see how it shifted to many more people being, okay, this is a good step. Some people were like, this is a good step. I wish you would also do this other thing. Some people were like, great, good work. I think Frodan had the best thing to say, which was on Twitter, not a comment, but he said, most important takeaway here is they will keep iterating, right? This was always meant to be an ongoing process. For me, the way I think of it is, they all had Thanksgiving as well. They wanted a bit of a break and gathering data the whole time, right? So they're not going to just trust people's input and go with that, right? They were gathering all kinds of feedback from people, however toxic the sources may have been, and also gathering data on just people's actual patterns in terms of spending, in terms of logins, in terms of everything. And that just takes time. So this is definitely a step in the right direction. One of the things that stood out to me was people asked specifically that they not tie bonus XP to events, because some people were like, well, what if I can't log in during that event and then I'm just missing this bonus XP? And this line of, instead of bonus XP weekends, they're just adjusting the level requirements. That I think is directly with that complaint that people had. Now, some folks were like, oh, but we should have the bonus XP events in addition to it being lower overall for everyone. And like, yeah, people are always going to want more. But I think that's a pretty good change in general, to just, rather than forcing people to log in a particular time frame, that it just is what it is for the whole duration.
Yeah, it's okay. So much like every other conversation about Hearthstone economics, this is a complicated conversation about Hearthstone economics. The the majority of positive responses that I saw. See, here's the thing. The issue was either from the previous issue and the previous statement, do you trust Blizzard or do you not? If you wanted to trust Blizzard and talk about something else, this was enough to rationalize and justify that. If you want to say, okay, they're working on it, and I think the most important part is that they said they messed up and that they said they're still iterating it, much like Frodan said, but the frank admissions of mistakes is pretty important. And also, I'm going to say right here, I do not buy the conspiracy theory that Blizzard was giving us a low ball and then was going to up it if people push back and leave it if they didn't. That's a conspiracy theory, because if this was ready to go, it would have been released a week after the patch. Or it would have been released the Tuesday morning that we got the vague blue post from Ben Lee. They wouldn't have just taken a month of bad PR. They wouldn't just be like, let's just leave everything on fire for a month and we're ready for it and then we'll look great after. That's not how businesses work. They would have had this out the next week. So the people that wanted to justify using this information, saying they're working on it, it will get better, this is an improvement, I don't have to think about this or talk about this now, I'm just going to play the game and see what happens. You are justified in doing that. The people that want to be mad and say the game is too expensive, you can still be mad. And the biggest mistake that Team 5 made is they made a system, even though I think now it is objectively more generous than the last one, and even before it was pretty close, that made people look really closely at the economy of Hearthstone. Because Hearthstone's expensive. It was before, it is now. And so the thing is, this system, looking back at it, this system was not designed to fix the economy. People were making the assumption it was designed to fix the economy. This was the assumption that this system was designed to make the game cheaper. No. It's to make the intro experience smoother. It's to give you something clear to play for every month. Maybe slightly more generous. But do you see how many people on Twitter are pushing achievements? It's crazy to me. That, like, achievement hunting is a way to play the game. Human psychology is fascinating. People don't need a reward other than meaningless points and a pop-up that they can post to social media. It's transformed the game for some people. And this is not me judging, by the way. I think that's awesome.
I mean, don't you remember how we talked about this when they first announced it? That's what
Yeah.
we were all excited about. There were like so many announcements. We were like, this is whatever.
Well, and we were excited about the profile.
And then we're just like, we want all of the achievements and new profile and stuff to grind for, essentially, which are what achievements are. Achievements are something that you can grind for and put time in and have your time be rewarded with, quote, like, it's meaningful to you that you get points for accomplishing tasks, for having crazy stuff happen, or doing stuff specifically to earn something.
Yeah. It's a net positive for the game. But also, it's very clear at this point, this was not meant to be an economic revolution. This was meant to be quality of life modernization. That's it. Right? And so, like, maybe it gives a little bit more, but really it's designed to be more helpful for the casual player and the newer player, to give them something to work towards and give more concrete rewards. And it gives more packs and cards, because you need packs and cards to play more if you're limited on collection, which is really great for newer and casual players. And so it's clear this is designed to help that particular pain point, but it was not designed to make the game dramatically cheaper. It's not an economy rework. It's a progression and achievement rework. And so that's become clearer now that their update, looking at what they did, they made it feel better. Are they actually giving us more now? The login bonus is giving us more. Right? They're giving us 500 gold and 5 packs if you log in between December 15th and January 18th, which you should do. Log in, get your free stuff. They gave us 50 more gold at 2 levels. It's 100 gold. Money. But these are field changes. These are mostly field changes. It's not actually more money. And I don't need more money. I feel like the system is actually somewhat on the generous side. I think actually more so than the previous system. It feels bad, but it's giving us more. But it's the conversation from the people that are upset that Hearthstone is too expensive. It's always been this way. They're talking about it more now, but they can't fix that with this system. They cannot fix that with this system. unless the numbers get really crazy. And they weren't trying to fix that with this system. They weren't trying to revamp the dust economy. They weren't trying to make the game dramatically cheaper. They weren't trying to compete with Runeterra because Runeterra doesn't have enough people playing it to compete with. They were trying to make the game more fun to play in the process and give you a little bit something extra so you can play more decks. That's it. They did it, but it wasn't what people thought it was, and that is the confusion, and that is the issue people have taken. And Hearthstone's still an expensive game, so totally understand anyone that's disappointed by this. And I think really the main issue they had was their communications, and they apologize for that, and that's their mistake of what they communicated and how badly they put out there what this was going to be. So I don't know. I'm glad they're working on it. I'm glad they said, hey, we're going to make this better. And I think this system, for what it was designed to do, was actually really good. But for what it didn't do is where the problem is. Does that make sense?
I think the number one thing that would make a pretty sizable portion of people happy is something along the lines of the 3 wins, 10 gold bonus. Because although that is, you look at that and you're like, well, that's crazy. That's 30 wins to hit the gold cap of 100 gold, and that's 1 pack. Like, that's so much time. But for a lot of people who just play the game a lot and they play it on a budget, that actually was a substantial amount of gold. If they got that every day, or they got part of that every day, it adds up, right? If you got 50 gold that way every day, that's a chunk of packs every week. I am not able to really track how much better or worse I'm doing in this new system, because I've been playing heroic duels, which I'm realizing I probably shouldn't do. I thought I was going to be able to do much better at it, but I'm gonna have to stop doing that. I'm gonna have to do the casual duels because
Because you're not getting Warlock.
I have a lot of whiffs. No. I'll get Warlock. I'll get Demon Hunter. Those are the only 2 I've been playing. I wait too long and then I just die. Right? Like, I don't play the kill mocks early enough.
Duels is hard.
You have to learn. You have to learn new like burst potentials of people. There's just so much to try and play around that I have ended up throwing runs that I maybe could have won. And also, I think it's this issue of I will still kind of be in a casual mode sometimes when I'm playing it, and run out of time on things or whatever.
There's definitely a mindset thing, and it's more difficult than it seems. But like, it is legitimately a different game mode. It is a different way to play Hearthstone. If you go in there treating it like Constructed, it's not going to be the same, because the power level over time is so dramatically different, and you really have to shape your run and shape your builds based on what's in your deck and based on what deck you want. So I love that there's actually depth and variety to it. There are some significant balance issues right now. I think we can call them significant. Demon Hunter and Warlock are crazy.
That is true.
Like, completely crazy. And Double Time, the passive, is crazy. It's really, really, really good. But the mode has depth and nuance and feels legitimately different than playing normal Constructed Hearthstone. And you can't just roll in there being like, yeah, I get Legend every month in the Standard, I'll just destroy it. Nope, it's not the same.
No, not at all. Yeah, I think my average is probably like 4 to 6 or something. It's not great. And it's not like I lose a ton on it, but I do lose something. And I'd be better off just playing casual duels and not running the game mode, I think. I think I would get the same thing, as long as I can convince myself. I probably won't play as much, honestly, playing casual instead of heroic, just because I don't know, there's something about playing for something that feels better to me.
Yeah.
And
people like stakes.
I don't have a lot to play for right now with Constructed Hearthstone, except trying wacky stuff, which is why my MMR is so tanked, because I'll just hit Legend and then play whatever. But it's definitely been a positive addition to the game for me. I know some people were underwhelmed after the new game mode of Battlegrounds before, but I have really enjoyed this a lot more than Battlegrounds because it is still based on the fundamental things that make up the game of Hearthstone. Whereas for me, Battlegrounds is, I mean, it's a different game. It just is.
Yep. The important thing to note as well, remember what I said about the dates login bonus. That tells us some things. So the login bonus, 5 Dark Moon Fair packs and 500 gold on December 15th. That's Tuesday, the day they usually patch. It's the Tuesday after Worlds. They have to patch to change the progression track levels, right? They have to add 200 levels. So we're going to get a client patch on Tuesday, December 15th, which is right after Worlds. And it's not Monday, so they could like put out a post on Monday if they wanted to, if they were changing things. I'm not 100%, but I'm like 95% that we'll see some balance changes announced Monday and go through Tuesday. Like really, 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 really sure. And then the other date, January 18th, that's a Monday, which means Tuesday, January 19th, probably the mini set. Probably the 35 cards. Because that's exactly 2 months after this set comes out.
Wait, what's marked for the 18th?
January 18th is the last day you can get the login bonus.
Ah, got it.
Which means when the
they're
patch comes out on the 19th,
Yep.
to remove that and add in the 35 cards, which is exactly 2 months after the release of Dark Moon Fair, then, yeah. So, I'm confident in a balance change on Tuesday, and I'm confident in the mini set on Tuesday the 19th of January. Now, I don't have inside information, not guaranteed, but this is my guess. And the more I think about it, the more I think, I bet this balance change is going to be not what we're expecting. Like, I think we know they're going to change some green cards, right? Like, Demon Hunter's going to get some stuff. But there are a lot of things floating out there that you could make an argument for. You can make an argument for beyond Twin Slice, which I've talked about many times in the show, beyond Chart Chatter Mystic, beyond Risk Skipper, or Bloodsworn Mercenary, or whatever. You could make a really good argument for Skull, which is the only Demon Hunter card in every Demon Hunter deck now, including the new OTK token Demon Hunter and the Lifesteal combo Demon Hunter. You need Skull, right? So, I see an argument for that. Could see an argument for Lore Keeper Polkelt, Aggro Skull, Highlander Hunter. Makes games really samey, valuable enough to make the end game of Aggro decks really consistent, which feels at odds with its purpose. There are a lot of the standard environment's kind of precarious, right? Because if you remove the board control tools, then Aggro DH gets way too good. And you remove the aggro tools, then like the warrior stuff gets way too good, and there's other stuff going on there. And if you take out all that stuff, then Evolve Shaman's probably the best deck in the meta, and I don't think anybody wants that. So you have to do a lot of stuff. And I feel like they have some big brain ideas coming Tuesday. Just a feeling.
And if aggro gets too weak, then Druid gets to just stomp on some things.
Well, Zoo has a Stone Rain 3/3. Like we'll be fine. It's no matter if Druid becomes the dominant deck, then you just play Revenant Rascal and that deck stops existing.
Do you?
I'm excited for that.
I played a bunch of Zoo.
I've beat up on a lot of people playing Zoo when I've been playing Druid, so
Clown Druid?
yeah.
Really?
The matchup is like difficult, but it's far and away the easiest of the aggro matchups.
I mean, if you hit the ramp, your wall is just absurd, right?
Yeah, like
the number of free things you get to play on the same turn as your strengthen numbers, throwing down Anubis South Defender and the
survival.
Well,
you mean survival, not strengthen numbers.
Yeah. Yes, survival of the fittest. I always confuse those.
But yeah, I've beat a lot of turn 1 flame imps. I don't beat a lot of turn 1 battle fiends.
Well, I mean, if aggro DH, I assume they'll nudge it and not kill it, and even if they do, it'll still be. There are ways to beat Clown Druid. There's a reason it's not really a deck right now, and nobody brought it to Worlds. So, anyways,
I haven't even looked at the worlds list.
Well, you will in the tournament section, which is actually a section this week, I
Yep.
promise, and it's more than 5 minutes. Bodicus.
We'll see. That time that you said that it's well over 5 minutes was only 4.5 minutes. So we'll see how long the section is today. I'm excited for next week when we actually have results, because that'll be fun too. But to finish out the news section, we have a hotfix involving some of the Quest XP that was given out. So everyone who was affected by the heroic duels not granting XP will be given 50 XP per game of heroic duels played since the update. And then those who were prevented from receiving new quests due to an issue with the returning player quest line will be granted cumulative XP for all quests missed since 19.0. You don't need to do anything to receive this compensation. You will just get it in game, and you also probably won't get a notification, because I didn't, but I definitely got a level up from playing enough heroic duels to get a level. So yeah, make sure you check your rewards track, because you might have some goodies waiting for you. We have one more item. Speaking of looking through deck lists, you probably want to do this before you involve yourself in the new Choose Your Champion. So Choose Your Champion is back. You will get to earn, let's see, what do you earn?
I think it's pack per win.
Or
And
it's
also,
pack? Okay.
if you're a T-Mobile customer, you can log in and get an extra a code for 1 extra pack. So, yeah. Go T-Mobile.
Yeah.
Speaking as a T-Mobile customer, I don't have that much loyalty to my phone carrier, but I'll take the pack, so
I had it for all of high school, but that's it.
It's a business that provides a service. Hooray!
I think I switched off Verizon for T-Mobile for a bit, and then I'm back. I think I don't actually know who my provider is, so that goes to show you how important that is. But hey, extra packs for sponsors, and that's a pretty big sponsor, so I think that's cool overall. And then of course you yeah, just like all of the previous Choose Your Champions, you get rewards just by going to the Play Hearthstone website, logging in, and picking a champion. You could look at lineups and do that if you want to be all, specific about it. But I just went and I chose Bloody Face because
Pretty sure we all just went with USA here,
yeah, I mean,
right?
Yeah. So, and there's been a little bit of news about that. Bloodyface, who is now known as Luna, still keeping the gamer tag Bloodyface. She came out for now. She came out that she's transitioning and identifying as female. So it was really cool. Ton of support, and like from her parents immediately tweeted about how proud they were of her, and Hearthstone Esports quoted it. And well, otherwise, we were talking a little bit before the show. This is not always something that people have an easy time with when they come out with the conversation that they're transitioning, and the conversation around Luna was just kind of universally positive, and that was it, and it was cool to see, but definitely feels atypical.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I remember we've had previous players who were much less in the spotlight. Like they were names, but they weren't like the big names. I think Bloody has popped off recently, sort of building it into her brand. She had switched to Artifact and now does Magic or Among Us or sort of whatever she wants.
Now
at this
does
point.
A game that has players.
Right. Teebs was much bigger in the Hearthstone scene for a while before, when the system changed, she kind of switched over to Magic and now has just been in Portland live streaming the protests every evening. So we've had players in Hearthstone transition before and have to announce it to the scene, but no one as in the limelight as Bloody Face. Honestly, I don't remember what Bloodyface's IRL name was before, but now it's Luna, so now I know.
Yeah.
I usually just refer to people by their usernames anyways.
Yeah.
I think what I was most impressed with, though, was honestly the Firebat video. He got dead on the pronouns. That was awesome. Same thing, I listened to the most recent episode of Angry Chicken. They didn't skip a beat. And coming from a background where, like, my wife went to Oberlin College when we were still dating, and it's a very very different college setting. There's a lot of people on the whole spectrum of LGBT, and so you get accustomed to a lot of people introducing with various kinds of pronouns. And I struggled a lot with people who have come out to me over the years. It's a hard thing to pull a switch with someone that you're familiar with and change their pronouns. But everything I've seen, people have not had any issues really. It's just been a non-thing, which is great. Speaks to the progress that has been made.
Yeah. It's nice. And I'm glad that's all we have to say about it. I'm glad that we're just like, hey, it's nice. Let's go to the tournament section. So, hey, it's nice. Luna, win me some packs, please. Thank you.
Please, all of us.
Yes. We need. Well, Bodicus and I need the packs because we're giving you all of our packs. We need some.
Well, that's true.
Replacement packs. But speaking of worlds, let's go to the more than 5 minutes tournament section.
It's the grand tournament.
All right, Worlds is coming. It's, well, if you're listening to this podcast to figure out when it's happening, if you're not watching it live and this is not the Raw, you missed the day already. It starts 8 a.m. Pacific on Saturday, the 12th. That's 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and I believe 4 p.m. Central, or GMT. Yeah, I don't know my time zones. So, 2 days of play. 8 players, 2 double elimination groups. You lose twice, you're out. But players with 2 wins advance, and then they go to the grand finals. 2 groups. Group A, Yarla versus Glory, and Bloodyface versus Shao-Ti. Group B is Sif versus Yugi. Bank Yugi, that is. And Silvername versus Monsanto. You look at the stats. 7 players brought Demon Hunter. Bank Yugi did not. Crazy person. 3 Soul, 3 Aggro, 1 Il'gynoth combo. 7 players brought Warrior. 1 Silas OTK. 1 Enrage. 1 E.T.C combo. And 4 Bomb Warriors. Can we just rotate
Do you
Wrench
not have
Caliber?
the wah wah wah? The wah 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 wah.
Yeah.
Acceptable.
I think I do have the sad trombone. Wait, let's see. Why do I have so many sounds for sadness? Blizzard, if you rotate out Wrench Caliber early, I will delete my sadness sounds because I'll be happy. That's what'll happen. Yeah, Bomb War is the most popular. And I'm worried that this it's not that people will make Bomb Warrior good. My worry is that Bomb Warrior is good right now and people are just all agreeing to not play it because we're bored of it. Because I'm pretty sure it's good right now. I'm pretty sure you could play Bomb Warrior right now and do really well on ladder. Please don't. Please don't do it. I'm so sick of dying to bombs. Anyways, there are 5 Highlander Hunters. There are 5 Evolved Shaman. 3 Paladins. 3 Libram Paladins. 3 Rogues. 2 Secret. 1 Highlander. 3 Priests. No, 2 Priests. 1 Control. 1 Highlander. No Druids. No Warlocks. No Mages. And the decks are a little bit all over the place, but, Warrior and Demon Hunter are definitely more common than most. Looking at the list, I'm still sticking with my pick of Bloodyface. Yarla has a very strange lineup. OTK Demon Hunter, E.T.C Warrior, Control Priest, and Libram Paladin. Very strange lineup. Atypical. Curious to see how it performs. Bank Yugi has 2 Highlander decks in a bracket with 3 Bomb Warriors. I don't have faith in that lineup escaping unscathed. And I'm glad to see people are actually respecting Paladin, that they're all in one half of the bracket as well. But I think that Paladin will probably perform pretty well with this much Warrior and this much Demon Hunter. I don't know. Otherwise, what do you think? You haven't looked at the deck list until right now, huh? That's right. You told me that.
Yeah, I hate Bomb Warrior so much. I'm very
Yes.
done with that deck.
Yeah.
Lots of Evolved Shaman is kind of neat.
It's good. Like, it's actually solid against Warrior. And it's not terrible against Soul Demon Hunter, just a little slow. But getting the right starter can be good, though. A lot of these lists are really clearly meant to target Soul Demon Hunter. They have a lot of Sea Giants, and I think Sea Giant's pretty bad, usually. But if you just need beef. Just need beef.
Honestly, it says something about the meta that I'm, like, kind of happy about Evolved Shaman, because
I mean,
that is not a mechanic I typically am happy about.
Evolve Shaman is great if it's not the best deck. If it's a good deck but not the best deck, it's fine. If that's the best thing you can do, it's awful. And also, the mirror matches are awful. And Shao-Ti and B-Face are both playing Evolve Shaman, so I hope that mirror does not come up. Anyways, we'll be watching 6 casters. Raven, Sottle, Gia, Darok, TJ, and Frodan. So, very excited to watch this. I'm glad that Darok and Gia are both in the World's broadcast. Yeah, it'll be fun. And then the weekend after that, as a reminder, the community championships. Organizations are announcing one organization is announcing per day. So we already have some announcements. OSC, Mad Doom is on the Hearthstone side. Kuroko's on the Battleground side. For No Pros here, we've got Snake Fods on the Hearthstone side, Lelnenko on the BG side. And then for Tierras del Fuego, we've got Tincho on the Hearthstone side, which I'm nervous about, and Joaquin on the Battleground side. So we've got some pretty high-profile names coming out for this community championship. You didn't hear about this last week. There are a bunch of different organizations, 8 of them, in fact, that are each having 2 players in a weekend tournament. 8 players for Constructed Standard and 8 players for Battlegrounds on the next day. Going to be really fun to watch. That'll be hosted on the Team Hearth Legends Twitch in English on the next weekend, as well as the TDF channel for Spanish. So, really glad that a bunch of organizations, including one that I'm involved with, and one that Edelweiss is involved with, we're gonna make our own tournament. Dang it! So yeah, we'll talk about
You didn't
that.
ask me what I thought about the lineups.
Hey, Botticus, what do you think about the lineups?
Looking now that I finally get to look at what everybody's bringing, Yarla's lineup looks pretty well suited for Group A, except for probably going to have a rough time against Zhao Ti. But if Yarla makes it out of Group A, it gets rough.
Group A, I think is the harder one, and I think most likely someone from Group A will win this tournament. Not to say that any of the players are bad, but I like the prep that went into the thought behind all these decks. It seems like these players are pretty wired in and expected. They figured out what other people were doing. With the expectation.
Zhao Ti also look like I'm worried for Bloody Face and Glory just because I think both Zhao Ti and Yarla's lineups look scary for both of those other 2. If I had to kind of guess. Like the Highlander Rogue is questionable, I guess.
I have a lot of questions.
That's definitely questionable, but the other 2 decks have me worried for Bloody Face and Glory. I mean, Zhao Ti's lineup kind of crushes Yarla's, I assume. But
I'd think so. I will admit I don't quite understand the logic of making the read that Bomb Warrior is a good deck to bring in the tournament and then also bringing Highlander Rogue. I don't like. If you think that Bomb Warrior is the read, why are you bringing a Highlander deck? Yeah, but none of them figured out World of Kickmaster yet. They had to submit before World of Kickmaster.
I guess not.
Must be it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing these decks in action because it doesn't feel like the meta is quite settled enough that we really know which of these lineups. And I'm glad there is diversity in both the Warriors and the Demon Hunters. If they were all Soul and all E.T.C, I think that would have gotten pretty boring pretty fast. though no E.T.C mirrors, I was honestly looking forward a little bit to seeing some really, really high level E.T.C mirrors, because that mirror match seems complicated.
I
Whereas,
was expecting more ETC in general. Jarl
yeah,
was the only one that brought one.
and
That's
you know what you do in Bomb Warrior mirrors? Put bombs in their deck, and then you wait for someone to die.
Yeah, well, honestly, the Bomb Warrior read is pretty strong because what are a lot of decks doing right now? Drawing tons of cards, whether it's a rogue or a demon hunter or the ETC warriors. If they're drawing a ton of cards, then shuffling, bombs into their deck that deal 1/6 of their max HP seems like a good thing to be doing.
Yep.
You think you have to ban Evolved Shaman if you're bomb warrioring people? Because that matchup sounds rough.
Or Libram Paladin. It's probably one of those two.
Yeah, one of those two, I guess.
There's
Yeah,
only
Kind of an
Libram Paladin, not
interesting
left.
target.
there's only one player that brought both, and that's B-Face. So we'll see. I really
These
don't
are
know.
the broom ones, not pure, right?
Correct. Yeah, no pure. It's players at this level really do not like playing pure Paladin, from my experience.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep. And the new cards in Darkmoon Fair for pure Paladin were kind of irrelevant. Huh? Huh?
I don't know what it's in reference to, but I know that the reference is not something I would like.
Urel is
Something
her name.
Oh, yeah. I haven't played against that deck very much.
The important thing here is that we took the time for someone else. Edelweiss, you explained the joke for me, so I didn't have to do it. This makes it a lot better. We'll just go to the next section. Let's just go. Let's just go.
Yes, thanks.
All right, welcome everyone to Decksplanations. This week we are putting the pedal to the metal because we've got E.T.C, God of Metal. That is the deck we're covering. We've got sort of the very combo heavy list and a more controlling list here. But honestly, I totally missed on E.T.C Warrior. I thought that this card was going to be interesting, but that the combo wouldn't actually make it as a thing. And wow, was I wrong. It was one of the first decks that people really started playing after the set came out, and it has stuck around just through, a couple of things keeping it strong. Obviously, Skipper Smith is a big one, so you're well positioned against aggro. And then the other thing is it's hard to win the game without playing minions. So you kind of put your opponents in this weird position where unless they can beat you without having some stuff on board, they're gonna struggle a lot. Yeah, have you two. But you mentioned you played some of it. I'm sure you've also faced a bunch of them. Hat, how about you?
Yeah, I've played a ton of this deck. Well, I guess not a ton compared to how much I've played of some decks, but yeah, deck's really good. I think it's just another example of how badly we missed on Animated Broomstick and how good
Yep.
that card is, because that card's insanely good. But yeah, didn't really expect that much damage to be coming out from Bloodsworn Mercenaries copying ETCs. But yeah, I guess once you kind of add up how much damage it does, it makes a lot of sense why the deck is good. Just because, I mean, anybody who played a lot of the olden Rage Warrior knows how you can kind of play that deck as a control deck and play it very defensively, and it has a lot of it can kind of shift on a dime really well, so it makes a lot of sense that a combo deck like this can kind of play towards the late game. You switch a couple of cards around, and all of a sudden you're this control-ish deck that has a combo finish to it. And yeah, deck ends up being really good. Has a lot of different ways to build it if you want to be more. I mean, we'll talk about this, but if you want to be more combo-y or more control-y, or just have different win conditions for people who are prepared for your ETC combo, then yeah, it's just a very flexible package, and has strong enough card draw to kind of keep up, and strong enough defensive tools to not get aggroed down, which as Hat has said, this is very much an aggro meta that is being held down by 3-mana Duskbreaker and Risky Skipper.
Yeah, and this warrior list, the reason why I think there will be some kind of nerf for it is that playing against it feels kind of frustrating, not because of the combo, just because all of their removal is so good. Like, they have so much really good removal. Playing aggro Demon Hunter against this, they don't need Skipper. They just play a minefield, and then all of your stuff is dead. Like, it's just gone. And there are a lot of really strong removal cards. There's Bladestorm, there's Minefield, there's Brawl. They don't have room for everything. They can't run all of those removal cards, which is a good sign for how powerful the deck is. That they have to choose which of their efficiently costed removal spells they play. And Sword Eater is really great, and obviously Skipper. And really, there are a bunch of win conditions here, but a lot of games are just over after Skipper, Smith, Bloodsworn, right? Just go Skipper, Smith, Bloodsworn, the game is over.
Yeah, for sure.
This deck effectively has 50 health. Effectively, it starts the game at around 50. Unless you can really get going really, really fast. Yeah. It's powerful. This deck's hard to play. Really, really hard to play. But it feels exhausting to play against with any kind of proactive pressure deck.
It does feel like the amount of games I've won with a full combo is next to none. A lot of times you're doing a very janky version of what the full combo could be to finish out a game. At least the version of the deck that I play that has a Rattlegore, and I also play Galakron, which some of the versions are playing, and I'm sure a lot have cut, but I really like the ability to kind of close out a game when you are running out of combo pieces, because the thing is some of the combo pieces are just good to play and use proactively.
I think
Yeah, I mean,
most of the time, probably, right? I think most of the time it feels like this is... I don't like the name of the deck. This is Rattlegore control that has a combo in it. Like, almost always. Just ran that out there.
I don't know. I at least a lot of the times I played, I haven't had time to play my Rattlegores. This is more like Skipper, Armor Smith, and then pick
Skipper
your way
Smith
to finish the game. Yeah.
Skipper Smith is warrior right now. Like, even Bomb Warrior, I would not be brave enough to play without Skipper Smith right now.
Well, you usually don't play it because without the Bloodsworn, it's kind of not good enough. Like, you really need Bloodsworn.
Yeah, but I don't know. Without,
You just
like,
jam double Minefield, double Bladestorm, and you're fine.
Yeah, I suppose. But anyways, we haven't actually explained the combo yet on the show. So for anyone who's not run into this yet, or they looked away and didn't see what happened, the way this deck works is you've got E.T.C, God of Metal, who's a 2-mana 1/4. It says whenever you attack with a minion that has Rush, you deal 2 damage to the enemy hero. Similar animation to like Axe Flinger of old. So you
yes. Anyone that hasn't seen the combo now but was playing 4.5 years ago,
all right,
you remember Axe Flinger.
So you've got Pen Flinger to damage your E.T.C God of Metal, and one of the big reasons you have Pen Flinger is because it's a minion. You could damage your E.T.C with Inner Rage, but using Pen Flinger gives you an additional minion to give Rush. You've also got your 2 Bloodsworn Mercenaries, so after you've used your Pen Flinger to damage the E.T.C, you make 2 copies, bringing you up to 3 E.T.Cs. and you finish up with Animated Broomstick. This is a full board combo. You need all 7 slots. And when you swing in the 2 Bloodsworns, the Animated Broomstick, the Penflinger, and the first E.T.C, each of those is going to do 6 damage. So, quick math, 5 times 6, 30 damage with just those. If you are swinging in the last 2 remaining E.T.Cs and your other E.T.C that you put in died, you can get another 4 damage and then 2 damage, so it's up to 36, assuming the ETCs die. If the opponent has smaller attack stuff to swing into, the damage potential is higher because your ETCs can live, so you get 6 off of each of them. I have seen one time a person, instead of Penflinger, used Guardian Aug Merchant, because that way you can always get that maximal amount of damage. Since each of the ETCs will have Divine Shield, they're not going to die when they swing in. It is like a small thing to like add a higher damage cap, but most of the time you don't need that, and Penflinger is so much more flexible. So I recommend still using Penflinger in your list because you can use it to clear early minions and then bring it back to your hand. It's just a much more flexible minion than Guardian Aug Merchant.
Yeah, Aug Merchant is 6 damage. So if you get 6 damage out of your Penflinger over the course of the game, it's the same anyways. And Penflinger is a removal tool and also might tilt your opponent, so that adds value.
Well,
Yes.
also, yeah, I mean, you just also get to kind of throw in Penflingers to. Penflinger does a lot of removing the opponent's minions in the early parts of the game when you can combine it with shield slams or any of your card draw spells. And a lot of the time, the deck doesn't need to use all its mana, so you actually have bits of extra mana here and there that you can use to help with it. And also, of note, something important when you're talking about ETC, because it says whenever a rush minion attacks. So if you have already played your Rattlegore, for instance, and you're going to try to finish the game, you can actually do your ETC combo, attack through any of their taunt minions, or attack, basically giving your Rattlegore the chance to attack face. And then when the Rattlegore attacks face, it also gets the triggers from the ETCs as long as you've played the animated broomstick, because the broomstick will give all minions, including ones that have the ability to attack normally, rush for the turn or rush permanently. So even if you've given a minion rush turns before and you combo again, you can actually get additional damage in with the ETC in later parts of the turn, or sometimes you're playing like a rush lackey, or sometimes you're not even comboing at all and you just have this ETC in hand and you need 2 extra damage to finish the game, and you can give it rush, or give a creature that's attacking face rush and get a bit of extra damage in. So yeah, just like little small things to note when you're playing this deck, how to squeak out extra damage, and potentially end the game turns earlier instead of waiting to get your full combo going.
Yeah, I lost a mirror match because I was waiting for the last combo piece. I had a lot of pressure on, but I hadn't done the math. My opponent had an 8/8 Rattlegore up. I think I was at 32 or something. And just because that Rattlegore could go face, they did a partial combo and it was enough. Because it's 2 ETCs and a Rattlegore attacking face is 12 by itself. So they were able to get a lot of damage going. And they were able to... There are a lot of times where you won't have the board space because you have a Rattlegore, but then you just play the second Bloodsworn after you trade with 1 minion, and you copy an ETC with Rush, and you still get a lot of damage that way. It's complicated, and the deck it's good in terms of it has depth and rewards play skill, but also deals 36 damage and ignores taunts, so you take the good with the bad. There's some ups and downs.
Yeah, you can also like rush lackey your ETC and then copy it and get a bit of extra damage that way in games where you've already dealt a bunch of chip damage, or however. Or sometimes you run into the games where you just like had to use your animated broomstick to die, and you're like figuring out how you're going to win the game later, and you just like piece together these random rush minions that you're not getting the full broomstick combo, but sometimes you just can win that way as well.
So now that we've covered kind of the combo, how it works. We'll go into a different way we win, which is you've got your just control elements. You got your defensive core, which, as we mentioned, Risky Skipper, Armor Smith, and I think regardless of what version you're running, you are always going to have Bulwark of Azeroth. It is just very strong in the meta right now against Demon Hunters. It's another hit for your Corsair cache. So you're generally running Corsair cache for Ankar, but then you can also hit Bulwark of Azeroth. And with Demon Hunters doing such big chunks of damage right now, and many of them having cut Penflingers, not all of them, but many of them, Bulwark is very, very strong there. And a lot of times you just need that little bit of extra defensive tool to get you up until 10 mana where you can combo off, because you do need 10 mana to be able to do the combo. A lot of the decks that are not all in on just the drawing cards are going to have tools like Bladestorm, obviously very good for clearing up all kinds of boards. You can clear Clown board with Bladestorm. You can clear early just Demon Hunter boards. You're usually not running more than one Brawl, just because it's such a difficult card to get out of hand, and hand space is definitely an issue with the number of cards you're going to be drawing.
It's
Minefield.
Brawl kind of sucks right now. Brawl's kind of bad.
Yeah.
Like, it's aggro DH, go ahead and play your 5 mana, almost clear the board spell. See what happens to your face. Soul Demon Hunter doesn't play minions. E.T.C doesn't play minions. What, you gonna Brawl a Rattlegore? You gonna Brawl a Rattlegore? Go ahead, Brawl a Rattlegore.
You're gonna Brawl 3 Rattlegores twice and miss the Yogg-Saron?
Yes,
You probably
that
didn't
did.
see.
I saw the
Did you see
Trollden.
that
Yeah.
Trollden clip?
That was amazing.
That was,
well, and
really
also that was a misplay, because the 3 Rattlegores could have just traded into the Yogg. Could have just triple traded, but instead it was Brawl into Brawl and missed the Yogg both times. It was amazing.
They would have needed something else still to finish it off.
I only had 19 health, 3 Rattlegores. I paused.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, whoops.
Yeah.
I saw that too. It was very unlikely for that situation to happen the way it did, but
It's a 1 in 8.
very unlikely.
12.5%.
Is, yeah.
It's functionally identical to.
I would consider 12% very unlikely.
It's functionally equivalent if you have a board of 7 minions, then Rag hits you in the face for lethal. Functionally identical.
Yeah, very unlikely.
So, another big card that's had an impact defensively that Hat mentioned is Minefield.
Oh,
That
so
is
good.
a nightmare as aggro Demon Hunter. It's 2 mana, just wipe an early board very handily. It's great against a lot of the stuff that Rogue is doing if they don't have exactly the 1/4, the Evil Miscreant down, right? Like, that can absorb a lot of hits, but all the piddly blackies it makes, lots of the early boards before they've evolved them from Shaman, it's extremely, extremely powerful.
Really good against Divine Shields too, which have historically been a problem. If you're against a Goody 2 Shields or Guardian Og Merchant on Bone Chewer Brawler, it just eats all that stuff.
Yep.
Really, really nice answer to normally difficult to remove threats.
Yeah, I think with as amazing as the 5 mana mech we had in Boomsday,
Dinomatic, yeah.
Dinomatic, which did pretty much the same thing, but at 5 mana, we still played it. I think it maybe didn't hit mechs.
Correct.
Or something.
Yep.
I mean, that card was great at 5. This at 2 with no body is just incredibly efficient. So that's going to be in a lot of lists. And then you got Shield Slam. It's just very cheap, easy to run out, since you're going to have your shield blocks and your armor smiths gaining you armor. Also, something that can be nice if you're having trouble building up armor, you can Bulwark, and since you don't take damage every time that gets hit, you'll be able to build up armor for a couple of turns, maybe get better use out of your shield slams. Next here,
Shield Slam's really good on the Rattlegore turn, because there's so many times where people are trying to pressure you so that you don't actually get to play your Rattlegore, and you'll have your Risky Skipper Armorsmith turn into Rattlegore Shield Slam, and now you're stable with a threat that can continue to keep you stable or potentially help you end the game while you're dealing with the rest of their board.
Well, and I mentioned that Animated Broomstick is part of the combo, but we run 2 because it's just good. And why have to rely on a Goblin Lackey if you can just use that Animated Broomstick with your Rattlegore? Give you, a defensive tool on the turn that you play Rattlegore.
Yeah, and some lists only run 1. I do like running 2, and I actually don't even mind running 2 Penflingers, because we play a lot of cheap spells, and Penflinger is a good board control tool, and a minion that your opponent will go out of their way to kill, and it's really good against other bulwarks, and I don't know, it annoys people.
Yeah. And I marked here why Rattlegore. One, obviously, it's a good card. But you may think, well, if you're a combo deck and your combo requires all 7 board slots, do you really need the Rattlegore? Well, what the Rattlegore does is it forces your opponent to react. So sometimes they're going to have the response in terms of a hex or a silence and kill it, whatever. But a lot of decks struggle to deal with Rattlegore and are going to have to do something in terms of making a board, stealing it, right? If their response to a Rattlegore is to steal it with Silas or some priest shenanigans, you then have minions to hit. Like, you have a target for your rushes. So it presents this threat that either is going to just kill them over time, or they do something to deal with it, and many times that something is going to involve putting stuff on the board that then allows you to combo kill them.
Yeah, it's in open list especially, but on ladder, as people get used to this deck, you can just beat it by not playing minions, unless they have Rattlecore. Yeah. And there was a game that I was playing with Paladin, where they were down to 5 cards in deck, and I just said, I'm not going to play minions anymore, they're going to fatigue out. Like, I'll hero power, but I will never put more than 1 health of thing on the board. And they were unable to kill me in time. And so they had to go in partially with the combo, because they didn't have time for Rattlegore, because I would have just killed them. And they lost because I'd used both my consecrations, but I had saved the Risky Skipper that I generated off first day of school, because I'm lucky. But I baited them because I knew about it. But they didn't know.
I also like Galakron for those situations, because you will get into matchups where your opponent thinks that, oh, well, I can just not do anything from here. And then not only does Galakron have a very, very minor amount of card draw, but it gives you a big threat. It can either help you draw an extra combo piece, but it also helps you start to end the game, because all of a sudden, instead of delaying the game, you just all of a sudden start punching them for 3 every turn. And then you're like, okay, I need less parts of my combo to be able to finish you now. I need you to have less stuff in play, and eventually this will kill you unless you do something. So that's another tool that I've really liked. I don't suppose it's in most lists anymore. That's probably an older version of the list, but it's been pretty good for me. Playing that card.
Priest has gotten a lot more popular, so if you see a lot more priests, the Galakron makes a big difference. That's really the matchup where you want it the most, just because the consistent damage to face is really nice, and a lot of times they can steal the Rattlegore, but also they can silence it. They can do whatever they want to Rattlegore. Priest can handle it, so having the Galakron as a threat they cannot deal with is really nice.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you're a list that runs Zephyrus alongside the Galakron, because you are so cycle heavy, you have that potential to go hero power, Zephyrus, pick up a Doomhammer. That's 10 damage with every attack.
Ooh.
They got to do something.
It's hot in here. Ooh. That's so much
damage. Or I
damage.
suppose not with every attack, but each turn, right?
Yeah.
The Wind Fury makes it.
No, it's ooh. We get to Doomhammer again. Oh boy. Yeah.
I mean, speaking of Doomhammer, there's also an inclusion in some of these lists that Hat posted a list when we were going to talk about the deck that I was questioning why he chose the specific list, because it had 2 cards in it that had weapon removal. And Yeah, I understand the idea of the inclusion of weapon removal, because I think you're actually more likely than not to be able to hit a weapon with it, but I'm not sure about the effectiveness of how effective it is when you actually get to use it. And also, um, it also had a cobalt sticky finger in it, and stealing one charge of weapons, I think, generally is probably not worth it. And also, you lose so much tempo because the decks that are playing the weapons, the turns that the weapons are coming into effect, you don't really have the opportunity to destroy or steal it and then also deal with the other stuff they have going on. So
Yeah.
in my experience, the weapons don't seem like they would. Weapon removal cards don't seem like they would be worth it, even if you're very likely to hit a weapon.
Yeah. So the thing with these techs, if you see these heavy techs, it is generally not because they are good for the broader ladder, but rather because once you hit a certain level of MMR, right where you're playing against the same people pretty consistently, if you're going for that rank 1 legend or top 100, whatever, people are playing a lot of the same folks, and everyone's really playing one deck at that point because they care so much about the rank, so they're not going to switch off on other stuff for the most part. You get to know what people are running. Number one thing you want to remove, Bulwark of Azeroth. So I mentioned that as one of the core defensive tools. Well, it's also something you really want to get rid of, and you can do that with pen flingers, but it can take some time. But if you can sticky finger your opponent's Bulwark of Azeroth, that puts you in a pretty good spot in the mirror.
Yeah, it's
But
the thing about, so this list hit rank 2 legend. And the thing to note about top 10 legend lists is that these players play the same 10 other people all the time, and they will curate their list based on what they're seeing. This person was running into a lot of bulwarks, and they wanted to beat them. Do not net deck this list if you are not top 10 legend. We are including it in the show notes, but it is a trap to take really, really high legend lists. I've been watching McBanterface's stream. He's been sitting top 5 legend for the past couple weeks. And we saw the same names multiple times in an hour. Like over and over again, the same exact people. So it's, be aware that when you take a deck list curated for that field, it's not going to match general ladder experience. But very clearly, this person was tired of getting bulwarked, or if there's one sticky finger, one ooze, I would bet that other people were sticky fingering them and they were just taking it back. They were just yoinking it right back. That would be my theory.
I mean, it's like there was a Soul Demon Hunter list that had a copy of Plate Breaker because it was at high legend.
That was one of the guys McBanterface was playing. It was Pun. Yeah, it was. There's an Acidic Swamp Ooze, a Plate Breaker, and 2 Sneaky Delinquents in that Soul Demon Hunter list. Do not try this at home. He's a professional. Though Sneaky could be kind of
very, very curated list.
And I think these are also good points, but I also think it's easy for people to see lists like this and think that, oh, it makes a lot of sense to have this weapon removal in here because there are a lot of decks that play weapons right now. And I think the point I wanted to make sure got made is that if you're just destroying one charge of a weapon with a weapon removal card, it's probably not worth it for the inclusion. But if you have a very specific reason to include it, like you need to destroy your opponent's Bulwark of Azeroth, then you know that weapon removal should be in your list, and it's worth including. So I'm glad that it was brought up at least.
Well, and even at a certain point, if people don't know that you don't have those things, right? This was something that I saw Viper post, which was that he didn't have those cards in his combo Demon Hunter lists because people so expect you to have them that they'll wait until a certain point to play the Bulwark. And so he gets to just not run them because so many people were running them. There's weird stuff that happens at the very top of the ladder. But moving on from that, in our mulligans, it's kind of weird to mulligan for these decks, honestly, because there's so much card draw. I mean, it's pretty obviously matchup dependent, like anything, but I think in terms of just generic, like always keeps, I would always keep Corsair Cash, right? It's best early to get you that draw. Obviously, you want Ankar in some form. These decks, being not bomb, get to run the 4-mana pirate
Sword Eater.
Sword Eater. Get to run Sword Eater as just early chip damage, which is great. You don't necessarily have to full combo then. And also just board control. It's a great taunt. And it lets you play your card draw based on the weapons. Cutting class. So the draw heavy version of this deck is very centered around you've got a bunch of pirates to draw from Ankar, you've got your cash to draw Ankar, you've got cutting class, which is discounted by the weapons you get from the Sword Eaters. It's this whole system, and then you've still got Skipper Smith Battle Rage as another card draw engine. So it can be really easy to have hand size issues. You have to be much more willing to sort of throw away certain pieces, right? That's why it's got 2 broomsticks, it's got 2 pen flingers, because you can afford to use one if you need to just ditch it for hand space. But I've often like Barov'd a board I wouldn't normally Barov just because you need the hand space. You'll also run Zephyrus, and you should not be super concerned about saving that to the end if you really need the hand space.
It's interesting looking at the mulligans for the draw heavy version, which we also have in the show notes. Do you know what the number 1 mulligan win rate card is in the deck overall, not tuned for any specific matchup? The number 1 card.
Oh, is it the 3-drop?
I was gonna say a 3-drop.
It's Lord Barov.
Oh, Lord Barov, really?
Lord Barov is number 1. And
Card's really good.
It's really good.
That card is really good in this list.
In second place, with only a 13% keep rate, Rattlegore.
Okay, that's because
it's 13%, right? So like when you look at stats, it has a 60% win rate but a 13% keep rate. That means the players are only keeping it where it's the best card. You keep that in Warrior Mirrors, right? That's where you keep it, and then you slam the Rattlegore, and then you win. Barov is being kept about a third of the time. Ankar is kept 97% of the time, and still has a 57.4% win rate. Corsair Cash being kept 99% of the time, 56% win rate. When you look at cards that are being kept a lot and they have good win rates, you can be confident in those. When you look at the cards at the top of the list, you have to look at the keep rates as well and see how often people are holding onto them. Because if you say, well, Rattlegore is second place, I'm going to keep this against Aggro Demon Hunter, and then you die with a Rattlegore in your hand on turn 6, you shouldn't have kept it. But 13% of the time, so like what? 1 out of 8 times? About 1 out of 8 times, it's been the right thing to do to keep it, and it's won the game. Now, with that being said, don't keep Zephyrus pretty much ever. It's the worst card in the list to keep, and not one person on HS Replay, it's showing 0%, have kept it in the mulligan on purpose. So that means people are mulling into it and losing a lot. Yeah, that'll happen. But it doesn't mean you can't run Zephyrus out on 2. It doesn't mean you can't run E.T.C out on 2. If you're against aggro DH, just play E.T.C on 2. It's just a 1/4. Like, just trade with things. You're not going to get to the combo. It doesn't matter. Your combo is Skipper Smith, Bloodsworn. That's your win condition.
And you can pretty much win with whatever after you've gained as much armor to... Because honestly, a lot of times just the armor wins the game. You run them out of stuff.
They concede, right? They usually concede a lot of the time. And then if not, go to 50 life and play Rattlegore. You'll be fine.
Sometimes you can also hold the E.T.C if you need to. Like, I definitely agree that sometimes it's correct to play out on turn 2, but sometimes you need an activator, an early activator for your risky skipper to go along, like having that cheap minion, because the deck doesn't play a lot of cheap minions, and especially since you no longer have the 1-mana pirate.
Sky Raider.
Now that you don't have Sky Raider, it can be harder to combo early with with Risky Skipper to be able to clear those early boards, because sometimes they get out of hand, and just using it as a minion to help deal you 1 extra damage to everything can also be useful.
And honestly, I have here, I don't know what the stats say, but I have here Armorsmith in large part because even if I don't care about the armor, it is a cheap minion to use with Skipper. And so when you're going to want to be doing your Battle Rage turns, it's the cheapest thing you can throw to activate Skipper, because your Broomstick and your Penflinger aren't going to be able to take that damage to draw you cards. After that, it's just the 3-drop that you can use to take a bit of damage to draw you cards.
Evil Quartermaster, yeah. It's the highest general purpose keep in the deck in terms of win rate is Evil Quartermaster. I would rarely mulligan Evil Quartermaster, if ever. I would never mulligan Ankar, and I would never mulligan Corsair Cash. Those are kind of the 3 cards that you need a reason to not keep, and most of the time you don't have a good reason. They're kept really, really significant portion of the time, and the win rate is still very high. So you have to really have a good example to not keep them. I like keeping Skipper Smith a lot, just because if you have Skipper, your Battle Rage becomes relevant, and when Battle Rage is irrelevant, the deck feels worse. But sometimes it's right to throw it back. Sometimes you don't need it. You probably don't keep it against Priest. You probably don't keep it against other warriors. But it's going to vary. It's going to depend. That's the thing about this deck that I like a lot, is that it's super flexible and super skill intensive, and it changes from game to game a lot. And your combo pieces don't laser focus in on the combo. You're a control deck that has a combo finish, but sometimes you just got to play it out and just see what happens. And a lot of the time you win on just Rattlegore, and sometimes you just gain a bunch of armor and they concede, and yeah, and there are a lot of different ways to build it too. Just don't put too many oozes in your deck. You probably don't need an ooze. Probably can get by without.
It's very easy to win a lot of games with just 1 Bloodsworn, 1 E.T.C, a Broomstick, and a Penflinger, and then just whatever else you have going on. It's way easy to win the game, so don't hold on to that second Bloodsworn unless you're like, I'm playing against, I don't know, a Priest that I know is going to have 30 life, and I'm never going to be able to keep a minion on board, so I might as well go for a full combo. But yeah, most decks you can find a way to get in some chip damage, and 2 ETCs and a few minions will get you the rest of the way.
I mean, that.
Did we do it? Did we do the thing?
I think so. That pretty much wraps it
wow,
up. I mean,
this episode's shorter than an ETC Warrior Mirror. It's amazing. Yeah. So hopefully all of this information doesn't become irrelevant on Tuesday when they nerf stuff, but there's a chance. So enjoy the weekend listening to this episode and play as much ETC Warrior as you can. They could nerf honestly any number of the pieces of the combo, which means we probably we'll see, because they could nerf Broomstick, and they could nerf Bloodsworn, and they could nerf Skipper. They could nerf none of them. I don't know. They could nerf Penflinger.
Broomstick has single-handedly enabled this combo and the Librum Paladin deck.
It's Broomstick is being played in Wild.
Yeah.
Like, frequently. It's very good with 0 mana 8/8s. I've been playing some Darkglare Warlock. Let me tell you. You know what those 0 mana 8/8s needed? They needed Rush.
It's also pretty good in some of the Druid lists because it's a 1 mana 5/5 that gives your gigantic minions Rush, because sometimes you need to kill their stuff right away.
Broomstick's a good card. We were so wrong about that. I can't believe how wrong we were.
I don't think that card needs to have Rush. I don't think it needs to give itself Rush.
No. But you know what we do need to do, Bodigus? We need to say thank you. We have many folks to like to thank. Check out our thanks section on the website at Concede.com. You can find our contact info, our show notes, and our patron information. You can monetarily support our show at patreon.com/Concede. Join us every week live by following us on Twitch, twitch.coinconcede.com. Join our community chats and our Discord at discord.coinconcede.com. Write into our email at coinconcede@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter. Like, share, and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/CoinConcede. Like some CC swag, head over to our shop at shop.coinconcede.com. Big thanks to our producers, Number 30, Tenor Wizard, Tony, Estoshi, K. Carhu, Pug Ugly, and Pro B1. Coin Concedes. Edelweiss. Go.
Yeah, so first one to Luna. Just super awesome news event. We chatted a bit afterwards. I'm very happy for her. Next to Firebat and the Hearthstone community, kind of on that same note, I was really impressed, and I hope, I don't know, after some of the stuff we have seen in terms of the Hearthstone community, it was nice to see something happy and positive and totally like not really issues. So that was awesome. And then also Concede to Necra. She sent my wife and I a great holiday package, which was very sweet with some awesome sweets and everything. So that was super kind. And my last Concede is to Probywan, who sent me a really nice message earlier this week, just kind of thanking us for doing the show and being a positive force. And yeah, it was really. It's always nice to receive messages of appreciation. So Concede to you, Probywan.
Bodigus. Bodigus?
I would like to concede to Ben Hearthstone for making a tweet about my distaste for Pharaoh Cat, and got me to post a picture that I had commissioned quite a while ago with my face on a Pharaoh Cat, basically. So that's now on Twitter if you want to check that out. But
Yeah,
yeah,
we'll make it easy. The
Ben
Concede account's
Hearthstone.
going to retweet it right now. There we go.
Oh yeah, that's just fantastic. So yeah, yeah, hopefully everybody has a good weekend, and I'm excited to see what the nerfs are on Tuesday.
Yeah, assuming there are, we don't know for sure. Also, we got a Concede to AK for Life and Saku for their subs during the show. I'm going to Concede to Enthrallamund because he was on a Commander podcast called Commander Crunch, and the title of the episode is Games Are Supposed to Be Fun. And as you know, we are strong believers in that here on Concede, so go check it out. Links in the show notes, assuming you like Magic, and even if you don't, just go listen to it anyways. Come on. You're not doing anything this weekend. Go listen to the show. Just do it. And yeah. I don't know. Also, Probywan. He was super nice. I know, people are cool. Also, Concede to my wife. She's great. Big fan. She said Haiti should have won Game of the Year. I agree with her. It didn't. Didn't win. So, till next time, keep calm and mulligan for Anchor. And if you see us on ladder, Concede.
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 It's the wrong outro. Play this one. There we go. Alright. Thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. And yeah, Time Magazine Game of the Year. Exact length is this. Alright, and we will see you all around the Discord.